Hello Mech Warriors, and welcome back to the Mech Lab, where we try to be a better mech commander every day. Today's topic is the worst weapons in the game. These are weapons that you should try to avoid at all costs. Our first weapon is something that's really rare, so it's pretty easy to avoid. It's the Tight Stream Electromagnetic Pulse Cannon, or TSEMP. The purpose of this weapon is to shut down enemy mechs. After hitting, you roll 2d6. On an 8+, the mech is shut down next round. On a 7 or less, you give them a 1 malice to all rolls. But upon firing, your mech automatically takes a 1 malice to all rolls as well. And the weapon can only be fired every other round. Automatically taking a 1 malice to all rolls is a huge drawback, and you have less than a 50% chance to shut down an enemy mech. And that's if you even manage to hit. It has the range of a large laser, which in the 3100s era when this weapon is introduced, is pretty short. Lastly, the biggest problem with this weapon is the battle value. 488 battle value is astronomically high. It's 76 more battle value than a clan ERPPC, which is a much better weapon. It's also really hot. It produces 10 heat. It does also increase the enemy's heat production by 5 though. So overall, if you can manage to land a hit, it's not that bad of a weapon, but it debuffs all of your other weapons for a round. It only has a low chance of shutting down an enemy mech, and it's really expensive. Now, if you were to take a bunch of these on some cheap, fast vehicles, I think that maybe you could make an argument for them being reasonable. This still has a major problem though, because the battle value is 1400. You're gonna have to be shutting down some really big, tough mechs in order to make this worth it. I think I'd probably just rather have like plasma cannons or something. The plasma rifle produces 1d6 extra heat, weighs the same, although it needs at least 1 ton of ammo, weighs the same, although it does need some ammo, and with ammo is going to cost almost half the battle value. I would take a plasma rifle over a TSEMP cannon pretty much any day of the week. Next up in the competition for terrible weapons is the medium range missile, or MRM. These weapons are a little bit hotter than LRMs, but are much lighter, meaning that you can take bigger packs for a lot less tonnage. Their battle value is reasonable, but the thing that makes them really terrible is their short range and the 1 malice to hit that they suffer. You can take Apollo FCS to offset that. It weighs 1 ton and it removes the +1 to hit, but it gives a -1 to your cluster roll. So at that point, you might as well just take LRMs instead, especially because Deadfire LRMs are actually arguably stronger than these and have better range brackets. I've seen some people make arguments that MRMs are pretty good with C3, since their long range is pretty decent, and the sheer amount of missiles that they can throw for their tonnage is fairly high, but C3 ends up costing a lot of battle value and it's really finicky. And if your C3 spotter ends up dead, these are going to be really bad weapons. Next we have the classic Golden BB Sniper, the AC2. This applies to pretty much every version of the AC2. Light AC2, LB2X, High Velocity AC2, and especially the Ultra AC2. These weapons are simply far too heavy for the amount of damage that they deal. If you want a long-range weapon that will poke at your enemies, you're much better off taking a bunch of MML3s or LRM5s. Yes, the AC2 has slightly more range, but those weapons are so much more flexible with different types of ammo that they can use that it's hardly even a competition. The LB2X is a reasonable long-range anti-air weapon. Now, the AC2 can use precision ammo, which does give it a bit of an edge. That -2 to hit against fast-moving targets makes it good at taking out hover tanks and VTOLs, but the LB2 is still better in that role. And for only 5 more battle value, I'll take the extra range and the chance at 2 hits, thanks. The light AC2 is a lot lighter, but its range is the same as a PPC's, and it's just not hard-hitting enough for it to matter. Lastly on our bad weapons list are a set of weapons that are pretty bad, the re-engineered laser family. These did get updated to have a -1 to hit, which is pretty good, and they ignore special armor types like Hardened and Pharaoh Lamb, which can be really annoying to deal with. But those armor types are extremely uncommon, so unless you're in a really late era and you're pretty sure that someone's going to be bringing a big brick of Pharaoh Lamb armor, it's not really worth it to take these. And the reason why is pretty simple. They're just worse X-Pulse lasers. The small X-Pulse laser has a range of 235. It does 1 less damage, produces 1 less heat, and weighs half a ton less. But it also deals with infantry. The medium re-engineered laser has the exact same stats as a medium X-Pulse laser, except it's less accurate, and it weighs half a ton more. The large re-engineered laser, now the large X-Pulse laser produces a lot more heat than the large re-engineered laser, and it only costs 1 ton less, with the same range. So you're trading off an extra -1 to hit for less heat and slightly more weight. The battle value on all of these is pretty similar, so there's not a huge difference there. So between these two, if I'm in a later era and I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some Ferro-Lam armor or something like that, I might actually go with the large re-engineered laser over the large X-Pulse. But between these two, I'm pretty much always going to want the medium X-Pulse laser. It's just so much more generally useful, and for the small re-engineered laser, I would way rather just have like 3 small lasers. 3 chances to hit are gonna trump that -1 to hit that you get, and they're the same range. The last crappy weapon we're talking about is the extended range LRM. These are LRMs with greatly increased range. Range 12, 22, 38. These things have pretty much the longest range in the game, but they have a massive minimum range of 10. That is a big problem. They're also extremely heavy. The ELRM-5 is 6 tons. That's triple the weight of a normal LRM-5. I think out of all of these, maybe the LRM-10 is the best overall, just because it is the most weight efficient, but 6 heat is pretty hefty, and the battle value on these is also really high. Like, you're paying 43 extra battle value for the extended LRM-10, and 3 extra tons for a weapon that is going to be in minimum range so often. There's not many maps that are more than like 30 or 40 hexes across, so within 1 to 2 turns, the enemy can close into your minimum range, even if you're on the edge of the map. Out of all of these, I think that the AC-2 is probably the worst. I would pretty much never consider even taking something with an AC-2 on it if I had the choice, unless I'm taking maybe a super cheap AC-2 carrier and trying to plink headshots or motive crits onto an enemy tank from long range. And that's purely because of the battle value cost, not because it's actually good. The Blackjack is one mech that you could argue is reasonably good that has AC-2s, but it's because of the 4 medium lasers that it has to back it up, not because of the AC-2s themselves. Tell me what you think down below, Mech Warriors. What is your least favorite weapon? What weapons would you add to this list of terrible weapons? Please leave a like, share, subscribe, all helps the channel out, and have a great day.